We're waiting for the arrival of the city clerk. The council is back in session. Let reflect that there was no action taken in the executive session. On the city clerk, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. However, I will recognize the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move to add the following item to the consent agenda: a settlement in the amount of $32,244 in the case of Justin Thompson versus the city of Topeka.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Harmon seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 8 yes.
8 having voted yes, the item is added to the agenda.
You have a copy of that.
Will the clerk proceed with the reading of the consent agenda?
It would just be
It's gonna be
approval of the settlement in the case of Thompson versus City of Topeka in the amount of $32,244.
$32,244. So Thompson versus City of Topeka. Settlement. Okay. Approval of settlement.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller granting Downtown Topeka Incorporated an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 concerning noise prohibitions. B is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sylvia Ortiz granting Noto Artist Group an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seek concerning noise prohibition. C are minutes of the regular meeting of May 20, 2014. There are 2 applications or open after midnight applications before you. And then E is approval of a settlement between Thompson and the City of Topeka in the amount of $32,244.
Thank you. Members, you have heard the consent agenda. Mr. Harmon?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd move to approve the consent agenda as read.
And Mrs. Everhart seconds. Discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 8 yes.
8 having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved. Also, council members, if you could make a note, there will be 2 or more executive sessions following public comment at the end of the meeting. I have been notified of. Then we will proceed with the action items. A selection of council members. Member. Singular.
A is selection of council member to fill the unexpired term of council district number 2.
Thank you. Since we had the executive session, the candidates have left the room, but just for the public's note that we have an ordinance by which determines the process that is used by the city, which also there are state statutes that govern the process for municipalities and school boards to select a replacement of a vacancy. And a part of that is the council shall interview each applicant at the next council meeting following the application deadline. So that is why, although the application deadline was at 5 o'clock yesterday, this is the first meeting, so we proceed with the process tonight. And each applicant will provide an opening statement not to exceed 4 minutes. There's no extension time allowed, and then we have interview questions of each of the applicants. Those questions have been submitted by the council members, and the applicants have received copies of those. The applicants have 2 minutes to respond to each of those questions. And then the city clerk has prepared a packet for the council members, and if you would go over that with us, please, so that there's full understanding of what we are doing.
Correct. We have a packet that includes each person that you will interview. They are in the order that you will interview them. The interview questions are on top with their name, gives you room to write your responses. Attached to those questions are their application. At the very back of your packet, there is a ballot packet, and basically it outlines the procedure. And what you will do is there is ballots numbered 1 through 5. You will mark one person that you would like to serve as council district number 2, and then sign your name at the bottom. Jennifer is here to collect all the ballots. She'll bring them over here, and Mary and I will tally them and make the announcement.
Thank you. And in the questions you see there on the list, that will be, and I will ask my question first, and then we will start with Council District 1, and we'll proceed around Mr. Harmon and Seclina, 1 through 9. Council members, do you have any questions about the process? Okay, we are ready for the first candidate.
She went to get them.
Where are the candidates?
They're in the- yeah. Yeah. It's that way. She's coming. She's getting them. There she is. Okay, they're up.
Hello, Carrie.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for being an applicant.
Thank you.
This is
Honorable
the time
Mayor.
for your opening statement. And
Okay.
you will have 4 minutes for that.
All right. Honorable Mayor and council members, I come before you with a strong interpersonal skills and a sincere desire to see that my constituents prosper with city services. One newer service is the Take Me Home project sponsored by our Topeka Police Department. And I've got brochures here on that if anybody wants to look at it. Well, Captain Bill Conkran has said that he wouldn't mind speaking on the Take Me Home project for City Channel 4. Getting these services to the people will be my priority, whereas I'm inclined to economic growth as a means to ensure our thriving diversity of culture. Bringing jobs to my district is important to me, and after speaking with a friend at the Topeka Police Department, there might be a need for a Topeka Children's Home for minor victims of sex trafficking. I would work with community partners, the Kansas Attorney General's office, as well as our professionals in commerce to engage this potential opportunity. And thank you for consideration of my application to represent District 2.
Thank you. Thank you for your opening statement. We will proceed now with questions asked by all the council members, and I will ask mine, and this is my question. For council members, there is the issue of serving your district versus the city as a whole. Please describe your thinking about how you would address this issue of serving the district, District 2, and the district as a whole, or I mean the city as a whole.
I would field calls and emails if necessary, but be careful to heed the needs of my district.
Okay, thank you. The next question is by Councilwoman Hiller.
Please state the amount, the dollar amount of the city's annual operating budget, and please react to that in terms of the responsibilities of being a city council person.
Our annual operational budget is around $235 million, and I would see myself as a guardian of those funds.
Thank you.
Next question is Mrs. Ortiz.
Hi, Carrie. Can you
Hi.
describe to me your district, please?
My district is made up of hardworking families and a lot of blue collar.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is by the Deputy Mayor.
Hi. Describe your participation in any community activities and how you think that experience will help you as a community leader.
Oh, let's see. I serve on the ADA Advisory Council right now, but my fondest memory is working with the Oakland Community Gardens and teaching children how to grow their own healthy snacks.
good. Next is Councilwoman De La Isla.
How do you foresee the role of a city council person? Do you see it more as a policymaker, or do you see it as a hands-on job?
I see it as a policymaker, but I would hope that there would be hands-on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Manspeaker.
Thank you. Thank you for applying. What do you see as Topeka's top 3 challenges in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I see food deserts, homelessness, and economic growth as being challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, and thank you, Carrie. How would you familiarize yourself with the operations of the city, the budget departments, the contracts, and then how do you propose to ensure that the public's funds are not being spent wastefully in each specific area after this orientation?
I'm very impressed with our professionals that work for the city, and I would ask them about making cuts to save taxpayer dollars.
Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you, Carrie. I was in that position not too long ago, so I know how nervous you are right now, too. My question is, all of us up here are unique individuals and at some point you will find yourself in disagreement with everyone up here. How do you approach differences of opinion, and how will you react to finding yourself with the minority viewpoint?
I would respect all differences of opinions.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Carrie, thank you for applying. I appreciate it very much. My question to you is this: how would you complete the following sentence? Leadership is.
Leadership is knowing the resources that are available for help and getting those resources out to the people that need them. That would be my constituents.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
very good, thank you. That completes the questions. And if you would care to have a seat, you can stay in the room if you wish, or you can go out. And then
Okay.
we will have our next person enter the room.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for applying. Hello, Katrina. Welcome.
Hello.
This is your time to present your opening statement for 4 minutes, and then we will go to the questioning and answering process. So if you may begin.
All right, well, my name is Katrina Bayless. You've all seen me before. I have addressed the council regarding issues in my neighborhood, and my resume speaks of the involvement that I've had in my neighborhood and in the city at large. When pondering what I could bring to the council, I was struck by the enormity of the responsibility of the position. I'm not a business administrator. I don't have a degree. That's obvious. What can I offer? Then I thought of my daughter's American Heritage Girls Values. It's designed to train leaders of the future. Their core values: compassionate, helpful, honest, loyal, perseverant, pure, resourceful, respectful, responsible, and reverent. These attributes are necessary for any city council member. And these same attributes have guided my actions through the last few years. Without them, who am I? Compassionate. We must remember everyone in the city. Protecting those who are not able to protect themselves, speaking for those who need to be heard. Drug users are part of the drug trade problem, but what are their issues? Why do they use? So all of those things encompass not just dealing with the issues, but being compassionate for the person as well. Helpful. This is a job of service. We must know the need in order to do the job. I have been and will continue to be in this position or in the neighborhood, helpful wherever and to whomever needs it. I recommend anyone who is watching, please get involved in your NIAs. We need people to be involved. Honest. Truth is foundational. Even the twistings of truth are lies in my book, period. No questions asked. Loyal. 7 years I have been fighting for my family city. This is my neighborhood. This is my city. Perseverant. Deb Duncan called me the Aaron Brockovich of our neighborhood. My neighbor across the street called me a bulldog. I know there are others who wished that I would let things go, but how can I shut up when there are people who need help? Pure. Well, there was quite a learning curve for me when I first started coming from not understanding how the city functions until this date, but the motives behind my actions were always for the betterment of my neighborhood, the protection of my family, and the voice of those who did not feel they were heard. Resourceful. I am resourceful. I will seek solutions, and I will do it until I find something. We came at our neighborhood issues from every angle I could, with both guns blazing, figuratively, of course. I worked with HND, planning, TPD, city manager, assistant city manager, city council, anyone who would listen and who had a path that would help. If there was a dead end, it just meant that we had to go a different direction, but we kept going. Respectful. Communication is so important. I had a learning curve on this one too. I've learned over the past few years how to state issues and get the results without burning bridges. Everyone has a right to be heard. People cannot be free to express needs and share their insights if not respected. I want to listen and really hear. Responsible. This is a big job, speaking for, representing others, trusting them trusting us to help them, us being accountable to the citizens. We need to be responsible no matter what level or position we hold. I believe my track record speaks for itself for responsibility and the commitment to the neighborhoods and the city as a whole. Reverent. Faith in the Almighty is the core value of everything I say and do. Love Yah with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's me. That's what I do. These are the leadership values that I'm instilling in my children, the ones that I live by. And when I look at the job as a whole, it is daunting. When I look at it as just another step in helping my community, doing what I have been doing and will continue to do, I know that I can do it.
Okay, you have to stop now.
Yep, I'm done.
Thank you very much for your opening statement. We will proceed with the questions asked by the council members. I will go first. For council members, there is the issue of serving your district versus serving the city as a whole. Please describe your thinking about how you would address these two different aspects of this issue.
I started protecting my house. That was me, protecting me and my family. And then I started working in the neighborhood. And then I started working in the Neighborhood Improvement Association. And then I started working with the city as a whole. The neighborhoods are key. We have to keep our neighborhoods safe, and they have to work together. I find that there is a tremendous amount of disconnect between the different communities. The roads divide a district, they divide an NIA or a neighborhood. We really need to communicate to get those issues dealt with as a whole. If we can't communicate and deal with the issues as a city, we're just going to be pushing the criminals from one neighborhood to the other, not really solving the problem. We need to communicate better.
Thank you. The next question is by Councilwoman Hiller.
Hi. Thanks for being here. If you could please state the dollar amount of the city's annual operating budget, and then please react to that in terms of the responsibilities of being a city council person.
$235,389,158. I don't like being in debt for reasons of any kind. And I would like to work hard towards reducing that debt. I think that's very important. And the responsibility of being in city council is daunting. I wouldn't take it lightly. The city budget isn't the city's money, it's the people's money. And we need to be responsible for that. We need to think of it, you know, would I want someone else to watch my purse? And if so, who would I want watching my purse? I want it to be someone who would value my money as much as I value it and take care of it with the same integrity that I would. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question is by Councilwoman Ortiz.
Hello, Katerina.
Hi.
Please describe to me your district.
My district, it's quite large. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, of the districts in the city. North Topeka, NIA, East and West, parts of Oakland, NIA, parts of East Topeka, North and South. We're sharing Oakland and East Topeka with District 3, I see. It's culturally diverse, very diverse. North Topeka, East and West are very proud of their historic roots. And it's family oriented. There are a lot of generations living in the city there. Most of it is low income. But Oakland has proven through their improvement of their health map that low income does not equal crime. And so I know that our area can rid itself of crime, as Oakland has, and improve. So there are 3 areas that are intensive care on our city's health map. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah,
That
one
means
minute.
you have one more minute.
Okay. North Topeka, East, and Oakland have received the SORT grants recently and are in the process of implementing that. We have NOTO in our area, which is improving the district as well, helping bring business in there. We have a lot of drug issues in our areas, but we're seeing improvement in that as well through working with the TPD and whoever else will listen.
Okay, thank you. Next question is by Deputy Mayor Everhart.
Describe your participation in any community activities and how you think that experience will help you as a community leader.
My resume speaks to my community involvement and commitment. And sometimes my involvement was as much as 40 hours a week or more, trying to help with reducing crime. These experiences have helped me to know my neighbors, know their needs, get involved in it, understand better how the city works. I've worked with the all the different departments for the SORT grants. I'm involved in the Citizens Advisory Council. I reactivated our NIA. I've worked with just about every department that I can think of, trying to get some results in my neighborhood for improvement through any direction possible to reduce the crime.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Councilwoman Della Isla.
Hello, Katrina.
Hi.
How do you foresee your role as a city council person? Would you see it as a policymaker or as a hands-on job?
I don't think you can separate the two. You have to be hands-on in order to know the needs, and then you have to make the policies based on those needs. You can't just say, I'm going to sit in this chair and I'm going to make the policies. No, you have to know the community and to know what those needs are in order to make the policies that fit the situation.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Manspeaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for applying. What do you see as Topeka's top 3 challenges for the next 5 years?
Well, I know that the budget is an issue, as we heard this evening, trying to figure out what to do with the budget, debt reduction. Crime reduction overall, I think, is a huge issue. People are not going to want to be in the business in the area if there's crime in their neighborhood. We saw that. We saw several businesses move out of our neighborhood or wanting to move out of our neighborhood because of the crime. We can't push the crime from neighborhood to neighborhood. It just doesn't work that way. I think also violent crime is a huge issue. And the statistics that I saw at Safe Streets Coalition were very nicely put to show that it didn't look like we had violent crime. That wasn't the focus. We're one of the safest capital cities in that list. But if you do the statistics differently and you ask about the violent crime alone, we're one of the most dangerous, one of the most violent cities. And I think that is a huge issue. We really need to address that. I think we need to bring in more business as well, reduce the unemployment, and not just large businesses. We need to have medium-sized and small businesses. We have that in NOTO. We brought in several of the businesses through NOTO. I've partnered with them for the Neighborhood Improvement Association. And I think if we have more of the small businesses and have more business overall, it'll be more stable than just bringing in a big business that'll up and leave.
Thank you. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Katrina, for throwing your hat in the ring.
Thank you.
Oh, how would you familiarize yourself with the operations of the city, the budget departments, the contracts, and then how do you propose to ensure that public's funds are not being spent wastefully in each specific area after this orientation?
Well, obviously, I'd have to learn as I go, review the information, probably the same way that many of you did as well, getting in there and reading the reviews, asking the questions, getting more familiar with the situations, talking to the people, finding out what they need, reviewing the budgets, the contracts, and then doing my best to make sure that I can see that the things were implemented properly, with integrity, to make sure that the people's money is not wasted.
Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you, Katrina, for applying. My question is, all of us up here are unique individuals, and at some point you will find yourself in disagreement with everyone up here. How do you approach differences of opinion, and how will you react to finding yourself in the minority viewpoint?
Well, I was swimming upstream in my neighborhood too. I seem to swim upstream a lot in a lot of different areas. I have learned over the years that I need to deal with things differently. Like I mentioned before, being respectful, understanding other people's viewpoints. That doesn't mean I'm gonna let go of my own. I have to stand for what I believe is right. But I also have to deal with that with compassion and integrity and respect.
Thank you. Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Katrina, for your application. Please complete the following sentence. Leadership is.
Well, I was looking up a whole bunch of quotes when I was reading this question. Leadership is doing the right things. It's serving with integrity. It's looking and seeing what is needed to serve the people, but then also moving forward and working with those same people. Leadership is service with boots on, but moving forward and doing what is needed to be done. I feel like there are a lot of people in North Topeka, and the district is larger than North Topeka, obviously, but I know there are a lot of people in North Topeka who feel like their voices are not heard. And I think that that's part of the job of leadership, is to help people be heard, to speak for them and actually say what they need to be said, you know, and to get things done that need to be done. 1 minute, right?
Right.
This is a quote from Spencer Kimball. Jesus said several times, "Come follow me." His was a program of do what I do rather than do what I say. His innate brilliance would have permitted him to put on a dazzling display, but that would have left his followers far behind. He walked and worked with those he was to serve. He was not a long-distance leadership. He was not afraid of close relationships. He was not afraid of the proximity to him that would disappoint his followers. The leaven of true leadership cannot lift others unless we are with and serve those to be led. And that's what I hope to do as well.
Thank you. This completes the interview questions. Thank you again for being an applicant. You may take a chair in the room here, or you may step out, whichever you prefer.
All right.
And we will go on to our next candidate.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Welcome, TJ. This is the time that you have first your 4-minute opening statement, and then we will have the question and answer session with the individual council members. So if you want to proceed with your opening statement.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, Mr. City Manager, staff, and everyone else attending or watching these proceedings here tonight. I welcome the opportunity to be considered to serve with you again, and as importantly, to represent my fellow citizens of Topeka. I am far less glad of the circumstances which require it. I mention this only as context for the public discussion it now provides on civic leadership, its application, and its responsibilities. My hope is that tonight these proceedings will serve as a learning experience for us all. As an applicant, I ask only that you carefully and thoughtfully make your decision about who will represent my district. I say this with sincerity and without regard for whom you select. The will of the people has been negated by unfortunate circumstances. We are all placing our trust in you to make a wise and informed choice on our behalf. I am here solely because of the caring and pride I have in my district in the city of Topeka. I believe that I have the capability to serve honorably and to contribute to the efforts of this body. When I was selected to serve on an interim basis last year and then ran for this office, I came to that decision not motivated by any personal desire for recognition or prestige. I did so because I felt it was the right thing to do. That is why I'm here again. I stand before you for no other reason. Although you each owe me a night's sleep, I truly welcome your questions. I don't have all the answers, nor I know do you expect that from any of us. With honest humility, I offer only my informed opinion, my motivation, and the knowledge I possess. I offer my thanks to each of the other 3 applicants who have also stepped forward for consideration. They have my respect. I await your questions.
Thank you for your statement. We will proceed with the interview questions. I will go first. For council members, there is the issue of serving your district versus serving the city as a whole. Please describe your thinking about how you would address that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I very much liked the fact that serving was in this question twice. It may be difficult to balance at times. However, I see no inherent conflict and make no presumption that there is a conflict between serving the residents of my district and protecting their interests against the obligation I would accept for the welfare of the city as a whole. I see both responsibilities as equally and inseparably important. With that said, I will at all times defend the needs of my district, its residents, its businesses, and any other organization or institution within it whose needs I feel are not being sufficiently appreciated by the other members of the governing body or by the city administration. I will do this respectfully, but I will without hesitation speak out, speak up, and vigorously voice my concerns to seek whatever changes to policy or program that I feel are necessary. I view this as an integral part of the responsibilities
You have one
of
more
any
minute.
council member. Therefore, as a representative for District 2, it would be my job to ensure that equitable funds and resources are being fairly allocated for the benefit of those I directly represent. That is what the residents of my district have a right to expect me to do and what I intend to do, provide active and committed representation. It is also my belief that all members of the City Council bear this same responsibility, not only to the residents of their district, but to the residents of every other district as well. Under the Council's budget authority and through project fund approval, each and every member of the Council is charged with ensuring the best and most equitable distribution of limited funds and resources where and when needed. This is one of the main responsibilities and duties a member of the governing body accepts when we accept the office, advancing the welfare of our district and our city.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
Welcome, TJ.
Thank you.
For being here. Please state the dollar amount of the city's annual operating budget, and then please react to that in terms of the responsibilities of being a city council person.
Thank you. From the 2014 adopted budget report, page 21, under FY14, recommended with changes, I understand the total operating budget for the city of Topeka to be $235,389,158. In my opinion, the first and primary responsibility by the governing body as a whole and each of its members is to maintain the public trust in our city government by fulfilling our fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Topeka and by making sound financial decisions based solely upon the best interest of the public. Further, by avoiding or declaring publicly any conflicts of interest and acting ethically in all instances without profit or personal gain. The annual budget is a contract between the people and the governing body for the services they will be provided and the costs they will incur. To honor that contract properly, there is a responsibility to be knowledgeable and informed in order to make tough decisions and smart choices. As a new council member, I see my most important immediate responsibility as actively familiarizing myself with all the operational details of the city budget, each department's budget, all of the funds and revenue sources, and all other aspects of the city's financial administration. In order to do this, I would be seeking information and education from all available sources, including my fellow council members, the city manager, the financial manager, and all department heads. Most importantly, I see a responsibility to examine and evaluate the effectiveness of city services and programs, along with all other municipal operations that these funds support upon the lives of Topekans.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How you doing, TJ? Just please describe to me your district.
Encompassing North Topeka, Oakland, and now a portion of East Topeka North, any description beyond that of District 2 must begin with the people who live there. It is filled with wonderful, hardworking, and honest people. Primarily, it is a blue-collar area. It includes young families raising children, wanting to live in safe neighborhoods near good schools, other people returning to the neighborhoods after years of living there or living away and returning to the area where they grew up, extended families who've lived in their neighborhood for generations, retirees with long-established roots and a historic knowledge of the area, along with many small business owners committed and hoping for further economic growth and development. It is a collection of tight-knit communities, churches and parishes, NIAs and volunteers devoting time, energy, and dedication to neighborhood improvement and safety. People who know and care about their neighbors and their neighborhoods. People willing to help out a struggling family, help someone move, buy groceries for the elderly woman next door, or mow the grass for a disabled neighbor. It is ethnically diverse. It has a long and rich cultural heritage, including the descendants of original European settlers, Volga German, Hispanic, and other immigrants. This history and culture is celebrated proudly each year during German Fest, Mexican Fiesta, and other events. In the north, Noto is bringing new life and new dollars into the old North Topeka Business District. In certain places, it is also increasingly an area of substandard rentals and houses in need of repair where more neighborhood revitalization is sorely needed. Areas where property crime is unfortunately on the rise. Often people here remember better days and earnestly hope for them again in the future.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Everhart.
Thank you.
Describe your participation in any community activities and how you think that experience will help you as a community leader.
Thank you. I believe that a leader is as a leader does. I began my involvement shortly after retiring from the military. I began by attending NIA meetings. I saw a need. I began volunteering. I helped with various projects. I progressed into active participation in the leadership of the organization, first as a representative to the Citizens Advisory Council, and then as president. I spent several years facilitating our neighborhood watch and working with community policing and code enforcement officers. These activities led to involvement with organizations such as Safe Streets, Citizen Patrol, and participation in the Chiefs Roundtable and quarterly crime strategy briefings, and also to involvement supporting various organizations and events such as National Night Out, Keep America Beautiful, Takeover Makeover, Hands on Topeka, and several others. These experiences have given me a great appreciation for the hard work of both our neighborhood, community leaders, and tireless volunteers, as well as a deep respect for the hard work and dedication of our public employees. I hope that I have gained understanding and wisdom. I'm working to be the best possible community leader that I can be. I already knew the importance of collaboration, cooperation, and servant leadership from my military and nursing careers. What I know I have gained and what will guide my decisions is an understanding that these values are even more important qualities and tools in civic leadership.
Thank you. Councilwoman De La Isla.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, TJ.
Good evening.
How do you foresee the role of a city council person? Do you see this more as a policy maker, or do you see it more as a hands-on position?
Thank you for the question. I see the role of a council member as encompassing both responsibilities. The responsibilities for policy decisions obviously rest firmly in the hands of the mayor, the council, and its members as the governing body, and is a primary responsibility unto itself. There must be necessary consensus, a sense of purpose, a shared vision, direction, and proper guidance given by the body in order for the city government and administration to function properly. While not always agreeing, members must be able to put aside, resolve their differences, or reach agreement well enough to craft sound public policy in response to the needs of the citizens they represent. I also believe that each council member has a responsibility to be hands-on within certain parameters. Council members have a responsibility to help the residents they represent. While not all-inclusive, this would include assisting citizens with resolving problems and addressing concerns with which they're having difficulty, providing information, education on various programs and services. It may involve identifying, assessing, and recommending areas of improvement based on these same concerns. It involves being involved in other civic functions, organization, and activities of benefit to the city. It should not be an attempt, unintentionally or intentionally, to usurp the responsibilities, authority, or functional role of the city manager or their administration. The governing body sits as the policy director and the city manager as the agent of that policy.
Thank you.
Councilman Manspeaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. TJ, good to see you again.
Good evening, Chad.
What do you see as Topeka's top 3 challenges in the next 5 years?
This was a tough question. I see Topeka's top 3 challenges over the next 5 years as sustained economic growth and job creation, along with reducing poverty, continued repair and renovation of our infrastructure within the constraints of a tight budget, and improving the level of services provided to our citizens while continuing to return our city to a strong financial footing. We need a new direction and model for economic growth, highly focused on the creation of jobs within companies in the growth stage of their life cycle, capable of exporting products or services out of our community and dollars back into it, along with aggressively attracting similar companies to our area and by creating a growth environment for our local entrepreneurs. Although not considered a core function associated with city government, we must do all that we can in partnership with other organizations and agencies to reduce poverty within our city. Not only is this the morally right thing to do, it is an absolute necessity, an absolute essential component, in my opinion, for a truly healthy local economy. Our city's infrastructure has suffered from neglect and mismanagement in years past. We are at a point, and have been at a point, where kicking the can down the road is no longer an option. While I am not advocating for it, as this body did last year with the mill increase, when it is clearly necessary and all other means have been implemented, this and future governing bodies must again be willing to make hard budgetary decisions as well as honestly consider and debate these changes. Specific goals aimed at improvements in the area of public safety, law enforcement, and crime prevention, along with other services, should be a top priority of both the governing body and administration. We should set and assess our success in meeting these goals annually.
Thank you. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
How would you familiarize yourself with the operations of the city, the budget, the departments, contracts, and then how do you propose to ensure that the public's funds are not being spent wastefully in each specific area after this orientation?
This was another tough question. My goal would be to educate myself thoroughly by any means available and any means necessary. I would look to the city manager and his department heads for education, information, documents, and to answer any questions I might have. I would look to the mayor, the members of the council for guidance, advice, and support during this period. I would speak with employees within the departments who are experts in their field. I would participate in meetings, planning sessions of departments, I would make a point of observing functions and operations. As I have in the past when wanting to learn about a topic of interest, I would use my own initiative to seek out and research additional information from other experts in that field, published reports, and other informational resources. I would use these same methods along with audits and other proven evaluation tools to assess and determine if public resources and their expenditure could be better managed and cost-saving measures could be implemented. I would also add as a metric and a guide the cumulative frequency and weight of public opinion, complaints, or concerns. I would then bring any discrepancies or identify potential solutions to both the city manager and my fellow council members for consideration by either policy or administrative action.
Thank you. Councilman Schmidt.
Schmidt, thank you. Thank you for being here, TJ.
Thank you.
At some point, you're going to find yourself, if you were appointed to this body, you'll find yourself in disagreement with pretty much everybody up here. How do you approach differences of opinion, and how will you react to finding yourself in the minority viewpoint at times?
Thank you. I appreciate this question. In my life, I've learned to welcome differences of opinion. Each of us, right or wrong, brings a unique perspective, background, and influences to any debate. This is as it should be. Positions should be argued, points should be made, and finally, responsible decisions should be reached by the majority. It is only through interactions with those holding an opposite point of view that it is possible to learn, educate, and find solutions for complex problems. It is my belief, and one of my only requirements, that this process be conducted in a civil and responsible manner. It is my opinion that public servants debating and advocating for the public good should conduct themselves in a professional manner as the representative of their constituents. This is what I intend to do. Passionate support of a position is a sign of real advocacy and caring. Rancor and grudges, on the other hand, do nothing to advance the public debate. If at any point I find myself holding the minority viewpoint on an issue and that issue is not decided as I would like, I would consider that a challenge to better establish my position and bring additional facts and information to the discussion. That is the only and obvious responsibility of the minority if they wish to change the course of action in a positive manner. This is my personal philosophy for public service and leadership. With the rare past exception given to human frailty, this is how I have and will continue to conduct myself.
Thank you. Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, TJ, for your application.
Thank you.
Please complete the following sentence. Leadership is.
Again, I welcome this question. Thank you. My response to this question, again, is my own personal philosophy. As we all should be, I'm a student, not a master of leadership. Leadership is being willing to serve those you lead and putting the greater good of others before your own. It is being willing to submit to the will of the majority while holding to principle by protecting the rights, dignities, and respect of the minority. A wise, responsible leader is a vigilant listener of other opinions and perspectives while holding to their professional responsibility for good judgment and independence. A good leader remembers, right or wrong, that the minority opinion may be the most vocal and must properly weight these opinions. A leader is willing to change their mind but holds obligation to make their position clear. Good leadership is the ability and desire to influence and motivate others to a positive outcome through example and positive action. A leader is a compass. An ethical civic leader encourages others to follow. They do not demand or coerce. A civic discourse should be spirited, but it is never a place for public shaming. Open and honest leadership improves the process of listening and receiving information, allowing perspective, understanding, resulting in informed decisions and debate. It provides the opportunity for education and new ideas. A leader never forgets that they are part of a team and value all other members of that team. A seasoned and wise leader is goal and result oriented, dedicated, driven, and hardworking with a record of involvement and activity.
Thank you. That completes the interview questions and your presentation before the council. Thank you again very much for being an applicant. And you may stay here or you can wait outside, whichever you prefer. Thank you. Welcome, Martine.
Thank you.
This is the time that you make your statement. You have the 4 minutes to make an opening statement, and then we will proceed with the questions and answers
Okay.
from the council members. So you may begin.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to apologize if I can't, if I squint a little bit. I just got these new glasses. My cornea's a little messing up a little bit on me, so I do apologize. My name is Martin Munoz, and I live at 308 Northeast Woodruff. First of all, I want to thank the City Council for taking the heavy task of selecting a replacement to represent District 2. I also want to thank my fellow applicants for being willing to step up and be active and part of this process. I'm proud to be living the American dream. District 2 has been my home for 34 continuous years. I'm a husband, father, and small business owner. My family and I have been a vital part of downtown Topeka for about 20 years as owners of Lupita's Mexican Restaurant. I can't emphasize enough my enthusiasm for my district. District 2 is home to my parents, my sister and her family, my twin brother, Manny Munoz, a proud veteran of 22 years of the Topeka Police Department. District 2 is where my children go to school. It is where my family and I go to church. I thank God for the many gifts I've been blessed with. One of them is living in Topeka, but the dearest to my heart is being able to call District 2 my home. As a resident of District 2, I am saddened by the events that brought us here tonight, and I know it could not have been easy for any of you. But as events unfolded, I began receiving hundreds of phone calls, texts, emails, and messages on social media encouraging me to vote, encouraging me to apply for this position. Because of the votes I received in April 2013, I know I had the support of my district. After careful consideration and prayer, I came to the conclusion that the best way to honor those votes and all those messages from my friends and neighbors was to humbly submit my application to this governing body. I look forward to visiting with you tonight, and no matter who you choose, I hope you leave here tonight feeling like you made the best possible decision to the citizens of Topeka.
Thank you. We will proceed with the interview questions. I will go first. For council members, there is the issue of serving your district versus serving the city as a whole. Please describe your thinking about how you would address this issue.
First and foremost, I think that the citizens of Topeka deserve proper representation, and not only a specific district, but for as a city as a whole. With that being said, my attention needs to be focused on the needs of District 2. This does not mean that I won't be concerned with the problems facing of all of Topeka.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
Welcome, Martine.
Thank you.
If you could please state the dollar amount of the city's annual operating budget, and then please react to that in terms of the responsibilities of being a city council member.
Okay. The operating budget is, it exceeds $235 million, $235,389,000. We have a fiscal and sacred responsibility to ensure citizens are trusting us in the proper use of tax funds. Also, we need to make sure we are getting the best use of this money in the operations of the city functions.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Munoz.
Good evening.
Describe to me your district.
The second district is my home and will always be my home. It consists of diverse ethnic and socio-economic backgrounds. I would consider it not to only be a healthy cross-section of Topeka, but also of our nation as well. District 2, in some ways, is unique in the rejuvenation. Cross-section though. Prime example is Noto, which has garnished national attention. It's also home to the historical landmarks like the Overland train station. It's also home to standing businesses such as Pabruski's. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Everhart.
Thank you. Describe your participation in community activities and how that experience will help you as a community leader.
I have been involved with a fiesta, also with a German fest, also involved with the Holy Family Catholic School, which my children attend. With my love for Zumba, I have reached out to my community to do events promoting exercise and healthy life choices. In my reaching out to my community, I have helped with causes such as Toys for Tots, breast cancer awareness, military veterans. I have always believed that real help to your neighbors and Topekans should always begin on the local level.
Thank you. Councilwoman De La Isla.
Hello, Martin.
Hello.
My question is, how do you foresee your role as city council person? Do you see this as a policymaker or a hands-on position?
For me, it is both not to not only set policy, but also to be hands-on. This is due to my belief that policy and being hands-on are interdependent on each other. You cannot have one without the other and develop the wisdom as to when to use one of these. You're welcome.
Councilman Manspeaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Martine.
Hi, how are you,
Good.
Councilman?
What do you see as Topeka's top 3 challenges in the next 5 years?
Maintaining and creating infrastructure. We have come a long way in the last 5 years, but we have to remain vigilant for any future needs when it comes to infrastructure. We have to realize infrastructure is the backbone to anything else that Topeka may want to do. We must create an environment that would be considered attractive to young professionals to not only want to come, but also want to stay. To do this, we must support local businesses and also continue the path to bring other businesses such as our recent victory with Mars. The next challenge not only pertains to my district, but all of Topeka. When it comes to our youth, we should try to foster programs that will get the youth more involved in our community. If not, we will see an uptake at our youth to continually make poor life choices. Our youth is our future, and we must cherish and protect it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Martine, for coming back and seeing us again. How would you familiarize yourself with the operations of the city, the budget departments, the contracts, and then how do you propose to ensure that public funds are not being spent wastefully in each specific area after this orientation?
One of the first things I learned is that it is okay to ask questions. So I will ask a lot of questions. My responsibility as a council person is to become knowledgeable so I can make informed decisions. I also know the city of Topeka has a wonderful and friendly support staff to assist me in my orientation. I will ensure that public funds are not being spent wastefully through the budget process and maintaining clear transparency.
Thank you. Councilmember Schmidt.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Munoz. My question for you is, all of us up here are unique individuals, and at some point you will find yourself in disagreement with each of us. How do you approach differences of opinion, and how will you react to finding yourself in the minority viewpoint at times?
As a matter of civility, it is imperative we maintain the thought that we can agree to disagree. So if I disagree with an opinion, I will explain my reasons, but will always be respectful of a different opinion. I understand at times I will be in the minority, but if I stick with my values, and more important to the values of the people I represent, I will be okay with it.
Thank you. Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Martine, for your application.
Thank you, sir.
Please complete for me and for the council the following sentence. Leadership is.
Leadership to me is the ability to listen to diverse viewpoints and being open to new ideas. Leadership is also knowing you're actually serving the people you represent. Leadership is also being accountable and living your life as an example.
Thank you. This completes the interview questions and your presentation before the council. Thank you again for being an applicant. We
Thank you very much,
appreciate it.
everyone.
Thank
Appreciate
you. And you may leave if you wish, or you may stay here, whatever you prefer. Council members, it is now time for the council members to vote. In your packet, you have there, make sure you have a sheet that says ballot number 1 at the top, and you vote for one of the 4, and then sign where your name is listed. And we have the deputy clerk, Jen, who will pick them up from each of us.
You want me to announce them out? Sure. Okay. We have Mr. Brown, Mr. Munoz, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown, Mr. Munoz, Mr. Brown, Mr. Munoz, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown. Mr. T.J. Brown received 6, and Mr. Munoz received 3.
Mr. Brown, having received 6 votes, is appointed to the position of the District Number 2 council member. And first, again, thank you for the candidates. We appreciate everyone's application. And it's a serious process, and you all did fine. We appreciate your appearing before us. And now, if Mr. Brown would come forward, the Municipal Judge Miller will swear him in as the district person. Sure, take your time.
Everyone, this is my lovely wife Dawn, who has taken time off from work tonight to be able to come be here with me tonight.
Just raise your right hand. Put your hand on the Bible. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
if you will take your place as the, where you've been located one other time. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us.
You can sign it now. It doesn't matter. I can do it earlier.
Take care of these minor formalities. You have to sign make it official. We will proceed with the action items. B is a resolution, if the council, if the clerk would read.
B is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller approving a special event known as Rockin' the Reunion Concert.
Councilwoman Hiller.
This is another one of our many wonderful public events. This particular one is, oh, we've got the details here. This one will be on June 14th. Rockin' the Reunion Concert Special will be outdoors on 8th Street between Kansas Avenue and Jackson. Move for approval.
Thank you. Mrs. Ortiz seconds. Is there discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the resolution is approved. We go to item C, another resolution.
C is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sylvia Ortiz approving the special event known as No Motorcycle Cruise Night, third Fridays.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in District 2, and what it is the NOTO is having cruise nights, so you need to go out and buy a motorcycle if you don't have one, so you can attend. It's the third Fridays, June 20th, July 18th, August 15th, and September 19th, and they've asked for this resolution. I thank Mr. Mayor, the First Lady of NOTO. Anita has done a wonderful job, and this is just something that she's adding to her agenda down there. And it's going to be very popular, and not to take away from TJ if he wanted to add anything. Move to approve.
Move to approve. If you went to, TJ will second. And is there any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the resolution is approved. Item D is another resolution.
D is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller approving a special event known as Tap That, a Capital Brew Festival.
Councilwoman Hiller.
I think I'll watch Vince here. I think is this our second annual? Yeah. Capital Brew Festival was a fabulous success last year. It is scheduled for June 28th. Once again on 8th Street between Kansas Avenue, or between 8th and 9th, on the 800 block of Jackson, near our beautiful Capitol. And with that, I would move approval.
Okay, it has been moved. Councilwoman Schwartz seconds. Is discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the resolution is approved. We will proceed with item E, resolution on the capital improvement program.
E is a resolution introduced by City Manager Jim Colson authorizing and adopting the 2015-2019 capital improvement program and the 2015-2017 capital improvement budget and approving the project budgets attached.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have brought this item forward in introductory fashion a couple of times earlier at the end of last year, and then we went through 2 weeks of presentations within the past month. We did pull the item last week to give people a chance to look at it very closely, and there's been a lot of interchange between staff and council members asking questions about this. I think one significant difference that exists in this document and the first one that you saw is that we removed basically two types of items. Number one is, as everybody is aware, that we have an issue with haloacetic acid and a potential solution there. It's a very expensive solution. We're continuing to take a look at that from a comprehensive point of view. So that item has been pulled out of the CIP budget with the expectation that we'll bring that back when we come back with a specific solution. In addition to that, there's been a lot of discussion pertaining to a rate increase that is very significant because we are continuing to have conversations with the impacted parties. We identified those specific items that were included in the CIP budget, and we pulled those out also with the same premise that we will bring those back forward with a specific plan on the rate increase and going forward. So at this point, with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Doug Gerber, Director of Finance and Administration.
Okay, Mr. Gerber.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just by way of brief introduction, as noted, this would approve the 2015 through 2019 CIP and then the 2015 through 2017 CIB, capital improvement budget. Approval of this would represent a fundamental shift in the way this process has been done. As noted, this process was discussed and vetted last fall, and the consensus was to move forward with the new process. Specifically, I'd point out three specific changes that will result from this process if approved. First, the CIB has been lengthened from 2 years to 3 years. The intent with that is to allow for a better planning process for the projects as we move them forward. Specifically, we would try to do year 1 for planning and design, year 2 for utilities and right-of-way acquisition, and then year 3 for actual construction. So that would be the intent behind that move. Secondarily, the process as envisioned now would adopt the CIP prior to the budget. In years past, it's been adopted after the budget. We hope that adopting it prior to the budget will allow us to put some better numbers into the budget and give you those ahead of time as opposed to waiting until after the fact. And then the third and maybe most fundamental change is that you will be adopting all of the projects with this resolution en masse, as opposed to them coming back to you on an individual basis going forward. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Okay. And on that, that particular, the first one you mentioned is one that I have had some discussion with, some people have asked questions and with other council members. And just noting again that we are approving the capital improvement budget for 3 years. In here, in the documents, it is noted that appropriations can only be made on an annual basis. Can you explain that? Because it sounds like it's two different things. We're talking about, we're approving a budget for 3 years, but it says that, this is on page 3. It is noted that appropriations can only be made on an annual basis. So if we approve something tonight for a 3-year, that doesn't happen, say, for 2017. It's in the budget for 2017. Nothing else, like, it would never come again before the council, and the city could go ahead with it. Is that, in spite of what this says about about having to have an annual appropriation?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I just want everyone to know that. That's because I think that's a significant point, is that we approve a 3-year budget and these items would never come back to us again unless they have to have a special type of funding that would require us to vote on it, but some of them would not.
I would add a caveat to that, though. We envision it being a fluid process, and of course at this time next year you would see another CIP/CIB, and so the opportunity would be available to re-review those projects as they move forward in whatever stage in the process that they happen to be.
Okay, thank you. And that reminded me of another note. When the budget was presented, I think back in May, I requested having a printout of what occurred in what we approved for the 2013 and 2014 capital improvement budgets, so that we can look back at what, because I know there were some projects we approved last year, we haven't taken action, no action has been taken. That would be very helpful for us to be able to see, I think for the public to be aware of. So would that be possible for us to receive that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Do
we
you
can do
know,
that.
I mean, I asked a month ago, do you know when that would be possible? I really would like it almost before tonight, but I don't have to have it. But I really think because we can't really track expenditures, we don't know what we did last year if we don't see, you know, an up-to-date measure of what has been, you know, what action was taken.
So I would hesitate to give you a definitive time frame, but I'll just say we'll work diligently to get that to
Okay,
you in the
thank
near
you.
future.
Very, very fine, thank you. And I have some other questions, but I will go on if other council members. Mrs. Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page, let me find it here. On page 4, and it says Public Health and Safety, and it says, projects which improve public safety, including purchase of fire apparatus and fire stations. But when I looked at this, I only seen one station, and that said south. What is going on with 13? Is that out of the CIP? When was it taken out?
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Ortiz, no, Fire Station 13 was in the CIP budget last year. It is still a funded project. We're continuing to look at that in a comprehensive fashion, and it is our expectation that and I'll use Doug's words, I would be a little bit hesitant to give a date, but we're involved in several conversations. We want to come back with a complete answer on the Fire Station 13 and 14 and the impact on operations.
Thank you, City Manager, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So then what other station are we talking about? Because this has an S on it, so that's more than one. Is that a typo?
No, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Ortiz, what we're talking about in that particular case is Fire Station 14. So
Should be, so it
we
shouldn't
have,
have, it's just one.
yes.
Okay. There was something else, I'll have to find, I couldn't find my highlighter, if I can come back, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all
But
right.
I would like to say, I too was looking for that long sheet. I thought it was in here and it would fold out, because we've had that before. So, I would be willing to, actually, I'll do it, I'll wait, thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
all right. Are there other questions?
Well, he asked for the current, he used last year, current year, and then future.
Ms. Ziller, I know you have one.
I-
You have at least one.
Well, I have a lot. I understand and appreciate the desire for this to be efficient, and I do embrace change, as I think people know. I've been comfortable with the projects proposed in this proposed CIP, but I have had a variety of concerns. Staff has worked through a lot of those with me. Only 4 that I think I want to bring forward as examples that I think we need, as issues I think we need to deal with this year. I think they can all be handled. I do want to share some of the points that I think I could live with this year, but I think that need to be addressed in the future, and then bring forward the 4 that I would propose changing. So I don't know how you want me to handle that exactly. Do you want me to start with those?
Yeah, why don't you start with one? with
Okay.
Number 1.
The items that I think I can wait till next year on, but I think we do need to discuss, others might feel differently. I have concerns about the CIB being 3 years out. Our 2004 council-adopted debt management policy, we have a 2-part council-adopted policy that I don't think's been handed around for a while, but it does, I think it's excellent. So I'm not suggesting any changes in that. It specifies 2 years for our CIB. It doesn't absolutely preclude it being 3 years long, but I think with the natural ebbs and flows of projects, we found that 2 years is more functional. Councilwoman Ortiz asked about the fire station that was approved last year and the mayor. It's helpful to see them, but so far we seem to see a lot of ebb and flow a year at a time, and I think we're all hoping that that will settle down. But I'd rather consider shifting once we see that we really aren't changing those CIBs from year to year. I'm not comfortable with the project votes the day the budget is passed. You know, what Mr. Gerber described, where we're going to be asked is the day we pass the budget to approve 3 years worth of project budgets immediately, not to see them again, arguably, or at least not till annually. I'm willing to roll with it, but I think it's going to produce as many changes as it is efficiencies. For instance, the Southwest 6th Street project is in this CIP for 2015. We've got 3 years stacked on it, 2015, 16, and 17. The MPO rejected approval of that project last week because it had not had a complete streets review in advance and didn't have any sidewalks or side paths or those kinds of accommodations, 10-foot sidewalks anyway, in it. If that goes back and those come in, that could be, let's say, $500,000 worth of change to the budget. If that's down and it's locked with 2 years on top of it, that's going to push a lot of changes around. So I just see that as an example. I was a little concerned, there's an overview in the front of the books. I think Councilwoman Ortiz just made reference to it. On page 3, I think it was a little selective about what elements of our debt management policy it highlighted. There were very useful facts in it about what qualifies as a capital project, but then it went on to highlight how much we could borrow, which is pretty substantial. It's pretty amazing how much we could borrow if we wanted, without a word about the really pretty extensive language in our current debt management policy regarding minimizing borrowing and optimizing what the policy calls pay-as-you-go and other sources of funding over borrowing. So I hope that in the future we could reverse or at least balance the discussion about our options. Just a couple of technical things. The book this year tries to define capital projects and then separate what is a recurring expense and a non-recurring expense. There's some columns and those are separated on page 5. It defines fire trucks as non-recurring expenses. We spent a lot of time talking about that when we agreed to even bond fire trucks and get them into the CIP, but to be handled properly, as I understand it, what we've started was to set up a rotation of a regular 10-year recurring replacement plan. So I would see them as recurring items, not non-recurring. And on the other side of that, this classification calls the neighborhood infrastructure program a recurring project. And you know, each neighborhood has had choices in terms of what they want to spend the money on, but typically the neighborhoods have chosen major capital projects such as a street redo or an alley redo or a building or replacing sidewalks in their neighborhoods, which we consider non-recurring major capital projects. And so just a matter of, when you dig back behind that into our debt policy, it talks about preferences of how you would finance recurring versus non-recurring. So it seems significant, not anything that had to be changed today, but for the future. In the past, I don't know if it's been forever, Councilman Harmon and Ortiz might be able to say, but ever since I've been on the council and long before that, whenever we have approved a project budget, if it is to be, sometimes we use optional words about what kind of financing could be used, but if bonding is considered at all, then a full workup of the cost of that project is included. It shows not only the cost to secure the financing, but what that total financing cost would be over a typical bond length. For some reason, there are no specifics about what the total cost of projects would be in the page write-ups that we have in this book. I certainly hope that we would add those in the future. obviously we'll figure them out, but we end up seeing those each time when we approve the project budgets. We'll not see those project budgets again, and I think it's a good reminder for us and for the public that those projects are coming forward and what the true cost is to taxpayers of those projects. I asked staff, I'm not sure it's absolutely required by our regulators and so on. It's just a good transparency move, in my opinion.
Okay, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, and, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Hiller. So that was a lot that you threw out there, and I will say that I can tell you that my staff has probably spent hours and hours and hours and hours with you this week addressing each of those, and certainly that's what we're here to do. Sometimes I think we have a resolution understanding, and then as I'm sitting here, I find out that we don't, and I find that a little bit frustrating. But I think we are committed to all those same things that you talk about. I think that we have put together an entirely new team. Last year was really the first budget that we put together. We sort of did it with a pickup team, trying to address many of the issues. And I think we've made phenomenal progress in terms of openness, transparency, better communication of information, and I would not want somebody to come away from your comments with the idea that we're not doing that, because I think everybody has agreed that we are. I will say that Mr. Gerber made the comments that you will see this every year. And while we're approving the 3-year CIB and the 5-year CIP at this particular moment, you're going to see it again next year. And yes, we want the same things that you want. We don't want to be playing a game of moving things around all the time, but we understand what our limitations are and what's necessary. For many of the traffic projects, it's very important to have a 3-year approval because the way that we have to deal with planning, design, utility relocation, and we all don't have to go back too far to remember the challenges that we had because we came out of the gate so late on a lot of these approvals. So we are not doing this in a vacuum. We're doing this based on the streets of Topeka and the challenges that we all face and the phone calls that you make. Our job as staff is to take a look at best practices and benchmarks and to come forward to you with recommendations of changes of policies. And we've done that. And we came back last year and we talked about this at great length, and we brought it back several times. So we will do as you direct us to do. But it is hard to have brought this forward so many times and then get all the pushback now as if, well, what are you trying to do, sneak this past us? We've been very open and trying to recommend a better way to do this. So we are pleased with the work that we've provided to you, but hear this very clearly. We understand we have a very long way to go. We're trying to provide more information. We're trying to assist you in understanding what you're doing and what did we do with the permission that you gave us to do this in the past. The last comment that I'll make, and we've said this several times, is when we bring these projects forward, we often leave the door open for us to do debt funding. But our plan is to reduce debt. Our plan is to fund out of cash. Our plan is to do the shortest time frames of debt as possible. And we will not bring anything forward. We can't bring anything forward until, from a debt perspective, unless we bring it back to you. So your comments are heard, and we continue to work on those and work with the entire staff. But we want the same things you want. We don't want to spend too much money. We want to get the best return on investment that we can for the community. But from a process perspective, we need, if there are concerns, we need it back to us a lot earlier, not the day that we're sitting here trying to get it approved, because we started talking about this 8 months ago. So, thank you.
If I can finish, I really appreciate the feedback, and I don't want to have been misunderstood. Unlike you as staff who can talk to each other all the time, we don't have that advantage as council members, and so this was the list that I had talked about with staff and had emailed back and forth with Jim, for instance, that I didn't see this list as deal breakers for this year, but they were things that I wanted to see addressed in the future. And so if I misspoke in the way I presented it, I didn't mean to, because I really do appreciate the back and forth and the consideration. But they are, these were things that I felt were important to go ahead and share with my colleagues, because I think they're important for our own information and for the public and for transparency. down the road. The only other item I had on this page of pieces that are not deal breakers today, but that I wanted to bring up, was that our policy does say that all capital projects, no matter how they are to be financed, should be included in the plan. If people think back to that legal length sheet that Councilwoman Ortiz was talking about, over the recent 5 to 10 years at least, we had added those in. And so if there was an item such as, I think last year we had a section for and I didn't bring it tonight, but the wayfinding signs and the bikeways, they were stubbed in because they were major capital projects, but we didn't have a funding source. We didn't want to bond them or didn't feel like we should, but they were stubbed in because they were items we wanted to not forget about and we wanted to make sure we did. And then things like the fleet replacements, particularly for the police cars, and we have leases on fire engines at this point. Those were major capital expenses. We really debated how to do them, and we were planning to do them for consecutive years, for instance, in fleet replacement. So I missed seeing those, and staff has discussed that we could have them back in. Just wanted to point out our policy, as well as certainly my position, that I'd like to see all of our capital projects in the future. There are a couple of things that I have some problem going forward with as they are today. So do you want
Okay,
those?
let's go.
Yeah.
Let me, Mrs. Ever, Deputy Mayor, you had a comment.
If she wants to finish.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The 4 that I have concerns about are that I've been back and forth with staff on half-cent sales tax. I had questions about it. I had some concerns, as people know, that I raised before. In the process of asking questions about exactly what projects had been done before, where we were with fund balance, and what new projects were coming up, in the course of the last couple days, we've exchanged 2 different budgets, and both of them are different than what's in the book. I feel like we need to defer the half-cent budget. The one I got today at 447 actually has the expenses from 2009 to 2012, the projects and the money that's already out, and it goes ahead and lays out all the way from it changes what we adopted in January for 2014, which I wasn't sure how or why that would happen, and then it takes 2015 all the way to 2019. And for us to be looking at what projects we're really gonna do and what won't happen, that's important to me. So when the time is appropriate, I would suggest now that there's a lot more information that we can all look at, that we defer that half-cent sales tax piece until probably September 16th, because that's when we'll be done with the budget, the operating budget, and we'll have time to get back to it. So that we all have time to look at the entire half-cent sales tax element. Also, and I brought it up before, the snow removal issue. I don't know how many other people have vetted it, but I did. It is a concern to me. When people responded, and I've had letters, all of us have, from some people who said, fix our streets, fix our streets. I don't think they even know that this consideration is here. When I talked to people about it, it was probably about 8 out of 10 who said, no, don't take our street money for snow removal. Some of them was even a little more stronger no, if you know what I mean. And there were a couple that said, oh no, snow removal's fine, particularly a lady out in the county just yesterday. I feel like if we were going to take that step, because it is big, that there should be an amendment that we put into the capital budget that says no snow removal will be allowed with these funds without a public vote. That was a public vote in, and I will suggest that when the timing is right. The third is the South Fire Station that Councilwoman Ortiz brought up. We, at this point, don't have any funds, haven't seen the operating budget, and don't have funds for equipment or for operating. And further, didn't have that last year for the fire station we've already approved. I understand from the city manager that he has a plan, but we haven't seen it, and I feel that we should defer making a commitment to build that fire station until we know for sure we can support it. And the fourth would be the levy funding. On page 47 of your plans, that the language indicates, as with a variety of others, but in particular, the match money that we need for the levies is in here at $8,925, not $8,925,000. And the way it is set up in this book is that we would borrow all of that money with revenue bonds. When I checked with staff, because we'd been saving that money before to do our match money, staff's response was that in fact we have been saving annually, that $4.86 million has already been accumulated in our reserves for this purpose, and that we have been putting another $800,000 per year into that reserve so that we're ready when the time comes. In a perfect world, depending on when this comes through, borrowing to complete the project should not be required. It would probably be 2017. 2016 federal budget it's moving, which is great, but the 2016 federal budget is the very first time it could be funded. So we should be able to have the cash for this project. So I would propose that when the time is right, we amend this project page to reflect that actual status of the fund and the plan to put the $800,000 a year in.
Okay.
So,
Well, you have four different
correct,
points.
when the
And
time
we
is
could-
right.
Well, we could take those up. Council members, you want to feel that we take those up one at a time?
And I'm
she can,
prepared for that. Yep.
Move those, and we can
Okay.
vote on that as we do on a budget item.